welcome to the Quiet Your Inner Mean Girl podcast, a place for you to find the courage you need to take the first step and every step thereafter to create the habits, the confidence, and the life that you love. I'm your host, health and life coach, Abby Hegney. Let's dive in. Welcome back to episode 59 of the Quiet Your Inner Mean Girl podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about the human experience. And typically, for every one of these episodes, I have really spent a lot of time thinking through exactly what I want to cover on the episode. I have thought about the points that I want to talk about, the flow in which I want to talk about them, the important pieces that I want to really come through in my messaging. And today, I haven't done any of that. So if it feels a little scattered, bear with me. But also, I think this is the perfect episode to not be fully prepared for. And when I say fully prepared, I just mean I don't have all of the exact points that I want to make written out and in the correct order for you. But I have been thinking about this concept of the human experience and wanting to bring it to you for a while now. And I had other episodes planned for this week, and yet one thing after another has just led me to wanting to bring this specific episode to you today. And so I'm hitting record on this without any well thought out flow or plan for it. But this is life. We don't know what life is exactly going to throw at us, and yet we work through it. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. It's our human experience. And I have been really living this human experience this week at such a deep level, really for the past several weeks, I would say. And actually, as I say this, I'm like, no, it's been months. But in terms of really thinking about this episode and what I want to talk about today, it has really been the past month that I have really just been living in seeing this and fully embodying it and thinking about why this message is so important for you. And so that is what I want to really talk to you about today. Our human experience is all things. It is the good days and it's the bad days. It's the challenges that come our way, and it's the ease and simplicity that we often feel. It's the good times and the bad times. It's the joy and the laughter. It's the sadness and the disappointment and the frustration. It is the days when we are motivated and the days where we cannot seem to find motivation no matter how hard we try. And yet, so often, we don't want the bad or the challenges or the sadness or the frustration to be there. When it pops up, we try to resist it. Our inner mean girl pops up and tells us this shouldn't be happening. She uses the challenges or the frustration or the disappointment or the doubt or the fear that often comes with the part of our human experience that is challenging and hard, and she takes it and uses it against ourselves and makes it mean that we can't do it. It's that voice inside your head that tells you it shouldn't be like this, that you should be farther along, that it should feel easier, that it shouldn't be this hard, or that it's too hard, and then it has you wanting to back down. We shy away from these big emotions that we often feel, and yet they're just a part of the way our lives are always meant to go. We are meant to feel the heavy emotions just as much as we are meant to feel the light and airy and joyful emotions. And so today, I really want to normalize this. And I think this is why I want to speak with you about this human experience today, because it's really been coming up for me a lot. And I know I often shy away from speaking about the hard and the challenges and the frustration and the disappointment that I face simply because I always want to be an outlet of inspiration and motivation for everyone in my environment. Those that are listening to this podcast, or those of you that get my emails or see my social media posts, I always want to be an example of what is possible. And yet, I never want you to think that I am without challenges, that I am without disappointments, that I am without frustration and bad days and unmotivated days. I am a human being as well. And our human experience is all of the emotions that we could potentially feel. And so I know for myself, I have held myself back. I've debated sharing things. And yet I think it's the most important message that I can share because I want to normalize the hard. I want to normalize the challenges. I want to normalize the frustration and the disappointment. And I want more than anything for you to know that you can see yourself through it. That on the other side is something greater. That when you are facing a bad day, a good day is coming. And what I don't want this to be is that everything has to be rainbows and daisies and butterflies, and we've got to find the silver lining in everything. That is not what I'm saying with this podcast episode. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's that, yeah, there are going to be really bad days. There are going to be days that gut you. There are going to be days that you feel like giving up. There are going to be days that really challenge you, that are deeply saddening. And there are days that are the complete opposite of that. And we cannot choose what comes our way or when it comes our way, but we can choose how we face it. We can choose how we move through it. And what I want you to take away from today's episode is that you have the capacity to handle all of the bad, all of the challenges, all of the negativity, all of the frustration, all of the doubt, all of the fear, and know that there is another side to it that is coming your way. And there is no doubt that that is the truth because that is the human experience. At the end of our days, I believe that our life is 50-50. We will look back and we will have 50% of our lives were amazing. We felt joy. We felt the top of the world. We felt successful. We felt happy and loved and confident. And there are 50% of our days that we will have been through some level of hard. And I think when we can really acknowledge that, when we can accept that life is 50-50, that our human experience is all things, it helps us to move through the challenges, through the hard, through the negative emotions or the heavy emotions in a different way than we ever have before. And without knowing that, or even knowing it, sometimes we know it, right? Intellectually, we know it, and yet it still can be hard to see or to take action or to allow it or to accept it. And that's because of your inner mean girl. On the challenging days, it is like the floodgates have opened and your inner mean girl comes rushing in. She wants to use those days as an opportunity to tell you and to convince you that you can't do it, that it's too hard, that you'll never be able to do it, that you should just give up. You should be further along. She takes the challenging days and tries to replicate them simply by convincing you that this is just the way that it is. This is the way that it's always going to be. And the thing that I want you to take away is this is what it is in the moment. It can feel challenging in the moment, but it's certainly not the way that it's always going to be. Because again, we know that our lives are 50-50. We know that we are meant to experience all things. We know that the challenges are just part of the process. But knowing it is very different than knowing it and building your capacity to handle it. And that can be the most challenging piece of it. But I know that it is possible. And I know that when you can acknowledge the pressure that you feel from those challenging days and you allow yourself to move through that pressure, not to make it better or make it better right away, but simply to acknowledge I'm feeling this right now and to feel it for as long as you need to feel it, but with the confidence and the belief and the trust in yourself that you can get through it and there are better days coming. And there's so many times that I have talked to women and they are in this dark place where they feel like they have tried everything and nothing works and they can't do it. And they keep themselves stuck there because they can't understand that there are better opportunities. There are ways to move through it. There are better days and better approaches that are available to them. But when you're listening to your inner mean girl and she's telling you, well, you've already done everything, nothing works, you can't do it, that makes it really hard to see. And so simply acknowledging this is a hard time, having some compassion for the hard in your life, for the frustrating days in your life, for the disappointment in your life, when you open your arms and you welcome that, knowing I get it. This is part of my experience. This is part of the process. And you stop resisting it. You stop putting so much pressure on yourself to move yourself through it. It does ease up. You move through it so much easier the next time it comes around. I talk to my clients a lot about high and low motivation cycles. And if you think of these as like two circles, when you first start out in your journey, especially if you have been trying to lose weight or create healthier habits or to feel more confident and comfortable in your own skin, if you have been trying for so long and you feel like you have tried everything and nothing works, what ends up happening is that your low motivation cycle is really large. If you picture a large circle and a small circle, the large circle is your low motivation cycle. It feels really hard to get yourself moving. It feels really hard to be consistent. It feels really hard to make any sort of change in your life, even when you want it so badly. And when that circle is so large, when that low motivation cycle is so big, we often don't see the smaller motivation cycle. We don't see the days where we do feel good, the days where we get up and we get dressed and we put something on that makes us feel amazing. We don't see the days where we decided we're going to move our body today or when we ate in a way that made us feel good. But the more you bring attention to those higher motivation days, to simply knowing they are available to me, what ends up happening is your low motivation cycles start to shrink and your higher motivation cycles start to grow. It doesn't mean that the low will never be there, that you won't hit them. Same with challenges or frustration or disappointment. These are all part of that like lower motivation cycle. It doesn't mean that you'll never hit them, but as they shrink, you move through them faster. You move through them quicker because you're no longer resisting the fact that they are there. You're acknowledging, I get it. This is all a part of the process. I was always meant to feel frustrated or challenged or upset. I was always meant to experience this level of grief in my life at some point in time, and here it is. But when our inner mean girl is loud, it makes it really hard to see that. We want, or we think that we want our lives to be all great days. We want to feel motivated all the time. We want to feel happy all of the time. We think that we want to be grateful and joyful and for life to just be easy. And my kids and I talk about this a lot, especially my daughter and I. We talk about how funny it would be if everybody was just walking around happy all of the time, in a good mood all of the time, if everything always felt super easy all of the time. What is it like? The Truman Show? Is that the movie that is like that? I think there's a movie that's like that. It would be very weird. And yet, that's what we expect of our journey. We set off to lose weight, to create healthier habits, to gain more confidence, and we just expect it to all be wonderful and smooth and easy. And it's never meant to be that way. It will never be that way. It will be full of ups and downs. And I know I talk often about losing weight and losing it for good and doing it simply and doing it with ease. But what that doesn't mean is that it's always easy, that it's without challenges. What it does mean is that you build your capacity to handle the challenge, to handle those low motivation days, to handle the days where you feel frustrated and you feel disappointed, and to keep yourself moving forward when you previously would have given up because your inner mean girl would have told you it's not working. It's about building your belief that right now this feels hard, but there are things that are working. And again, that is not to say that there's something wonderful here, but it is to say that from every challenge that you face, you are taking something away from that. And I started really thinking about this when we were on vacation and my son had his appendix removed. And I was just thinking about like what a prime example of our human experience for our family, for my son, that we can be on vacation and we can be having this wonderful week surrounded by family, having such a great time, doing all of these fun things, and yet have this experience at the tail end of our vacation in which my son ends up in the emergency room and then is transported to the local or the closest, not even local, the closest children's hospital and has to go in for an emergency surgery. And this is just the way that life is. We could have never have planned for that. We could have never predicted that that was coming. But that's life. It's the 50-50 of life. You've got a really good day just the day before. Really good day. The kids they had a carnival, they went out to play. My son went to play 18 holes of golf. My husband and I went out to dinner. Fantastic day. Sunshine, fun, family. And then the next day, we're in the emergency room. It would have been so easy to be thinking it shouldn't be like this. This should not be happening to us. But then you're just arguing reality. And there is no other losing battle that you could potentially put yourself in than arguing or resisting reality. And I want you to think about for yourself, where are you maybe arguing or resisting your reality? Where are you placing blame, maybe outside of yourself, for things that have happened versus owning the things that have happened, or not even the things that have happened, because there are things that happen that are out of our control, but owning choices that you have made. I was recently talking with a client about this, specifically about feeling really disappointed. And I said sometimes the hardest thing is for us to own our own disappointment and to see how we have created that disappointment by the actions that we have taken, by wanting to take better care of ourselves and constantly putting ourselves on the back burner, by setting our alarm and then never getting up with it, and then feeling disappointed throughout the day that we really wanted to get up and move our bodies and we chose not to. By saying, this is it, this is where I'm going to make change, and then talking yourself out of it. It can be really hard to own those hard emotions. And yet, it's one of the most powerful things that we can do for ourselves because it puts us in the driver's seat. If you refuse to own them and you allow it to just be something outside of you, that's where your inner mean girl is going to latch on. She's going to tell you that you have no control, that it's not up to you, that nothing works, that it's not possible, that you're not capable, versus stepping back and looking at, okay, I see what's happening here. I see where I let those difficult emotions, where I let the hard overcome me, where I let that take over, where I let that just be my narrative. And I have felt this deeply over the last 6 months or so. And the reason that I'm recording this right now is because I just got off the final coaching call of this business mastermind that I joined 6 months ago. And if you have been following me on social media and maybe even my emails, I don't remember if I shared this in an email, but I was so excited to join this mastermind late last year. I had such high goals for myself about growing my business and just really up leveling who I was as a coach and what I offer and just all things surrounding my business. And I went into that so excited. And it was the hardest 4.5 months of my life. It was a 6 month mastermind, but for 4.5 months of it, it was the hardest time that I have ever faced. And I say my life, but I'm going to say in my business, but potentially my life. It was very, very challenging. I had every doubt. I had every fear. My inner mean girl came raging. I'm really good at quieting her down in some areas of my life, but for the last 4.5 months, it has felt impossible to do it when it has come to my business. I felt so much pressure to perform in this mastermind in a perfect way, in the way that I expected that it would go, in a way that just aligned with all of the thoughts that I had about it. And yet, that was where I got everything wrong. I had an expectation, and then I started having these challenging days, and I kept bringing myself back to, but this is the way that it should be. I'm falling behind. I'm missing the mark. I'm not doing it right. All of the doubt kept growing and growing and growing because I let my inner mean girl take over. And the reality was is that I was just resisting where I was in that moment and what was actually happening. And I was putting so much pressure on myself to just get through the hard and for it to not be challenging and to find the ease. And it was even more challenging by trying to just get out of it. And eventually I just allowed it to be there. And I showed up and I got coaching. I had so much support. And this is, I will plug this forever and ever and ever, that this is the value of coaching, to have that support when we need it the most, to see the things that we are not seeing. And I'm so grateful that I was in a community where I had that support and I was able to see the things that I wasn't seeing. That mastermind did not go as I expected. And yet I gained so much more from it. After 4.5 months of feeling frustrated, feeling disappointed, feeling challenged to my core, I gained so much clarity. I gained so much conviction and confidence. I discovered new parts of myself and fell in love with new parts of my business that for so long I had been avoiding. I had been skirting around. I had been resisting. I had been thinking weren't good enough. I chose to meet those challenges, to allow the challenges to be there, and to know that I would get through it. And I allowed myself to see things from a completely different angle. And it has changed everything for me. So I had mentioned I just got off this call. So it was our final call, and the whole call was about celebrating. And I got so emotional on this call because the celebrations that I brought to that final call were not at all what I had expected going into it. And yet they were so much deeper. They were so much more powerful. They are deeply rooted transformations that will never leave me. And this is the value of quieting your inner mean girl. When my clients walk away from their 6 months of coaching with me or longer, for those that stay on, many of them stay on and coach with me longer, is they are deeply transformed because they come in with a goal in mind, with an expectation, and they leave with a greater capacity to handle everything that comes with setting goals and managing their own expectations and celebrating themselves through the hard. And as soon as I let go of that pressure to be the perfect student, to do everything right, to meet my own expectations, to think that this is what was expected to me and this is what I have to do, everything started to fall into place. I gained so much energy. I gained, again, so much clarity and confidence and conviction in my business, but also my business has been thriving in the last 2 months more than in the prior 6 months, 8 months. But this is what happens when you step into your human experience. When you own the 50% of life that is hard, that is challenging, that is frustrating, that is disappointing, just as much as you own the 50% that is amazing, that is motivating, that is happy and smooth and joyful. When you can love yourself through both ends of that, when you can have your own back on the days where you feel really challenged, on the days when you feel like you are deeply gutted. It's the best way that I can explain it. When you can have your own back on those days that feel like, I don't know if I can do this, and you do it, that is life changing for you. And if you think about every time that you have showed up for your goals and you have tried to create change in your life and you have felt like you have tried everything and nothing is working, I want you to think about how often did you have your own back through it all? Did you support yourself just as much on the days where you felt challenged, on the days where you weren't consistent, on the days when the scale went up, on the days where you wanted to do it and you talked yourself out of it, on the days where you just felt exhausted or sad or like you just couldn't handle it? Did you have your own back, or did you let your inner mean girl take over and grab the wheel and steer you in a completely different direction? This is why the quiet your inner mean girl method is so powerful. We certainly take action and we create a plan to help you create healthier habits and feel more confident and to lose weight for good in a way that works for your life. But we start with the way that you're talking to yourself. We start with the confidence that you feel in the good days, but also the bad days. We start with building the trust in yourself, the belief in what you are capable of and what is possible, again, on the good days, but also on the bad days. And we use that as your foundation. I don't know any other plan that is supporting you on a weight loss journey that first addresses your inner mean girl. But when you address your inner mean girl and you put yourself back in that driver's seat and you expand your capacity and you shorten those low motivation days, your higher motivation days grow beyond what you thought they would. You move through the downs so much faster. You keep yourself going. Of course, doubt and fear and trepidation is always there, but it doesn't stop you because this is the human experience. It is all things. It is always meant to be all things. And I want you to love on yourself through it all. And so I think that's our episode for today. But really take this episode, download it, save it, share it with a friend. Make sure that you put this in a place where you can reach for it when you are having a bad day, when you feel frustrated with your progress, when you're feeling disappointed, when you think you should be further along. I want you to come back to this. I really, 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 really want to normalize the hard and even more so the ability to move through the hard. And if you have felt challenged, if you are feeling like I want this thing, but you are littered with doubt and fear and you're holding yourself back, I really want to encourage you to use this episode today to take that first step. Schedule a free consultation. This is where we get to talk through this. We get to identify those stories of your inner mean girl and the emotions that are holding you back. And then we create a blueprint for how you can move through it in a way that works for you and your life. I cannot tell you what a valuable skill this is to develop. You have to experience it for yourself. And I hope that you do. I hope that you reach out and schedule that consultation call and really embrace all that your human experience sends your way. Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode, this off the cuff episode. If you have not already, please rate, review this podcast. And please, please, please share it with a friend. If this resonated with you, share it with a friend. There is a woman out there who also needs to hear this message today. Be that person who spreads it, who shares it, who lets somebody else know it's okay to feel human. All right, my friend, I will talk to you next week. If you are loving this podcast, please subscribe, rate, or review. Or if you know someone who would benefit from this message, please share it with them. And if you are ready to quiet your inner mean girl, to create habits that make you feel amazing, to lose weight and confidently keep it off while living the life that you love, I invite you to schedule your complimentary 60-minute consultation. We'll discuss where you are, where you want to be, and how my Quiet Your Inner Mean Girl method can help you create the future that you want. You can find the link to book your call in the show notes, or you can also connect with me directly on Instagram at Wellness with Abby H. I can't wait to talk to you.